Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome back to another review of mine. And for those of you who are new to my channel, welcome and thanks for coming by. If you like what you see, please give me a little thumbs up there and consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon to make sure that you get a notification when I post a new video. Check out some of my back catalog and share some of these videos around, as it really does help the channel out quite a lot. So anyways, I like to make these little videos about movies that I've enjoyed, whether they are new to me, or ones that I almost forgot about, or ones that I feel never got as much talk as I feel that they really deserve. Recently, I started up this series of Hammer films, which have a link in my description for the introduction video for those. It's a 20 film boxed set. So right now I'm on film number 4 with the Two Faces of Dr. Jekyll from 1960. It was also marketed as Jekyll's Inferno. So you may see, when you're looking up stuff about the movie, you may see posters and references to it being called something else. Also referring to it as being released in 59 instead of 60. I've seen a lot of those differences in dates on some of these Hammer films. So in this case, for this film at least, I was very familiar with the concept of the story, as it's basically a retelling of the Robert Louis Stevenson novel, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, with the very simple synopsis reading as follows. Dr. Henry Jekyll experiments with scientific means of revealing the hidden dark side of man and releases a murderer from within himself. Yep, it's a good little synopsis there. That's about the story there in a nutshell. And, man is experimenting with different sides that people carry, such as their good side and their bad side, so to speak. So in performing these experiments, he initially discovers how to pinpoint the bad side, with plans to use that in future experiments to then hone in on the good side. Similar to like a virologist creating a deadly virus, so that way they can develop a cure in case a virus that's similar ever develops out in the real world. So Dr. Jekyll decides to run one of these experiments on himself and is now being taken over by Mr. Hyde, this alternate personality that's bad. He's a bad guy, he's evil. But he's not very monstrous in this telling of it, not the monstrous way that we've seen depicted in other films and parodies and so forth, but simply he loses the beard, skin looks a bit more cleaned up, his eyes somehow seem much more blue, and the entire way that he carries himself is very different as well. So this makes for an interesting performance, as well as an interesting way to depict that shift, to leaving out the physical monstrosity side of it and going mainly on his performance and delivery. In this version of the story, he doesn't really come across as this monstrous pure evil as much as just not caring about anything other than his own desires. So this will make him outright rude to people most of the time, with the occasional physical altercation. But he's not rampaging through the streets of London late at night, as we've seen before. This version of Mr. Hyde is a much more thoughtful one as well. He puts a lot of thought into his actions. He's got ulterior motives. And he's kind of evil in that sense that he'll do anything to get what he wants, which does eventually lead to murder as well. But overall, I really did enjoy this film a lot. It's a tight little 89-minute film, like many of these older films that I've seen, that I've come across seem to be. Now, it does have Oliver Reed in it, but it's a very, very small role, and I've just seen him in one of my previous reviews for the film These Are the Damned. It also has Christopher Lee at roughly 38 years old, I would say, maybe. And like the Revenge of Frankenstein, where I got to see, Peter Cushing at a much younger age, at a much different time in his life before Star Wars. This was the first time in decades that I'd actually seen anything from Christopher Lee, that was before Lord of the Rings or Star Wars. I hadn't really gone back to revisit any of his older catalog. So it was a nice treat to see that. And honestly, the only negative things that I could even point out about this film, any little nitpick stuff, it's mainly going to be that, like, the fake beard on Dr. Jekyll definitely seemed fake. I mean, yeah, it was fake, but it just didn't look very good. Same thing with his makeup. Everything just seemed very poor, but that was kind of offset by the way that they're kind of telling the story. It's, I don't know, they could have done something different. I mean, I appreciate that they were trying to not make him so monstrous that he could, as he's Mr. Hyde, he could still mingle amongst regular people and carry out his motives. And maybe there were some overly dramatic points in it. But other than that, it's good stuff. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And, if you wish to check it out, it's on Fubo, That's the only place I could find it outside of maybe purchasing it on disc somewhere. You know, I'd purchased that Hammer film set. It was about 40 bucks for 20 films. Seems very worth it, even if I only end up liking a handful of them. But yes, you can head on over to Fubo, see if you can check it out there. But anyways, and speaking of giving something a watch, thank you for watching this video to the end. I hope you enjoyed it, and follow all that YouTube stuff that I mentioned at the beginning, and I will see you in the next one.